All right, so good afternoon, folks. Thank you for coming out. My name is Anthony Smith, and I'm the Executive Director for Cities United. Cities United is a national network of mayors. We support over 100 mayors who are really committed to building out strategies to reduce the homicide rate of African-American men and boys. And we've been working in close partnership with the folks in Louisville and Lexington over the years, and this is just another opportunity for us to go an even deeper dive. And what we're really here today is to talk about this new funding that we've got from the Kenan Charitable Trust. Kenan Charitable Trust has is investing in Louisville over $5 million over the next 3 years for Louisville and Lexington to partner as they build out fellowships in their communities and in their cities. And the fellowships are going to target and reach out to young men who are 16 to 25 who have been connected to the criminal justice system. And this is really around how do we really tap into that underused resource in our communities and really get them prepared to be civically engaged and civically ready to lead our cities in the next generation. So this is really about making sure that our cities have the resources it needs to be prepared and ready for the next generation of leaders. We want these young men to know that they can be the next Mayor Gray or the next Mayor Fischer, and we want to provide them with those opportunities and that support. So again, Cities United is here to play a supportive role. We will be here as the convener and the connector, and really trying to figure out, once we get these fellowships up and running, how do we take them from Louisville and Lexington and then spread it across the country? We're looking to build out a national best practice and a national model as we do these programs together. So as you all will see, when you hear from folks over the next little while, you'll hear how we're going to build this out over the next year, but then we'll start implementing this in July of 2018 and really taking in our first cohort of fellows and then really building that out from the ground up. But we're super excited about this opportunity. We look forward to working. As you can see, there's many partners in this room, local and national, who are coming together really to focus on Louisville and Lexington and the work that we do together so that we can make this a national best practice. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Fischer, and then you'll hear from Mayor Gray, and then we have David Cozart from Lexington, who's going to come and talk, and then Darrell Hunter from the Metro United Way in Louisville, and then we'll wrap up and we'll take some Q&A.
Thank you, Anthony. We're very proud of Anthony Smith. Anthony was our founding director for our Office for Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods before the national organization Cities United identified him as the best person in the United States of America to lead their national effort around this work. So on behalf of all the citizens of Louisville, we're proud of you, brother. And I'm going to have to step out at 12:55, so if you see me wandering off, it's not because I'm not interested here. I have to get back to the city for a 2 o'clock event. But thank you all for coming here today. We were in Frankfort for a reason. For 225 years, the elected representatives of the people of Kentucky have met in Frankfort to talk about the opportunities and challenges that are facing our state and our community. So this seemed like an appropriate place for the teams from Louisville and Lexington, Mayor Gray and myself, to get together to talk about this opportunity and this challenge that we have in our communities. And the challenge I'm talking about is that 200,000 people a year re-enter our society from our prisons and our jail. 200,000. Oftentimes underneath the radar, oftentimes dropped off at a Louisville or Lexington bus station in the middle of the city in the dark of night, and they try to find their way forward. And it's a difficult, challenging way forward. But it's something that we in our cities and our country need to take ownership of, and that's what today is all about. I want to thank Mayor Gray and his team for the great partners that they've been with us since we were both elected in 2010, came into office in 2011. One of the first things we did before we were even inaugurated was say, let's work together as the city of Louisville and the city of Lexington, put this old-fashioned notion of rivalry behind us. Our state deserves better. Our citizens deserve better. What we need to be doing is working together as a region to compete against other cities around the world. And that has been such a beautiful partnership for us and allowed us to compete on a global stage like we have not before. We knew that if we worked together, great things can happen. So we formed a BEAM movement, Bluegrass Economic Advancement Movement. That was a teamwork, a regional metro economy plan between Louisville and Lexington with the help of the Brookings Institution and J.P. Morgan Chase, and we've seen phenomenal results. Our first focus was workforce readiness and manufacturing. Boy, we didn't know then how much we needed now, but we've seen tremendous advancements in that area. Then we focused on foreign direct investment and export success, and we've had 5 years in a row of record export success out of both of our cities. So this partnership works, and it will continue to work. Now we've come together to work with the William R. Kenan Jr. Charitable Trust and Cities United to address another common and critical challenge that faces cities all over the country, and certainly our cities as well, and that's the urgent need to create more pathways for success for young men of color in Louisville and Lexington. Now, this work is essential for our communities because for too many Kentuckians, factors like their race, zip code, and lack of access to resources and networks for safety, education, and career advancement make it virtually impossible for them to achieve what people refer to as the American dream. For too many people, it's not an American dream. And the fact is that there are particular challenges that Americans of color face that are the result of the history of our country and a legacy of exclusion. And we have to acknowledge that shared history. It includes actions like redlining, which is a banking practice that effectively denied housing loans to African Americans. Urban renewal is another practice. It's a federal program which devastated communities of color like Louisville's Russell neighborhood, which was called the Harlem of the South in the 30s and 40s because it was rich with black-owned businesses. A lot of these practices, discriminatory practices, were enabled or even conducted by our government. So generations of African Americans had very little opportunity for upward mobility and limited options and places to live, to grow wealth in their homes, which is mostly where people have their wealth, and the practice of redlining just basically didn't allow that to happen. We talk about this issue in Louisville all the time because I don't want people to be like, I say that I'm not responsible for that. None of us were around then. So we can't be responsible for our history, but we can be responsible for today and for our futures. Because the reality is we see the impact of those practices today and the challenges that some of our African American neighborhoods face, and you see it in data related to poverty, to crime, to health, education, employment. It goes on and on and on. And these challenges hit especially hard for young men of color. The data does not lie. Nationally, we lose 14 young men of color every day to gun violence. 14 young men of color. Think if we were losing 14 people in suburban malls around our country every day. What would our country be doing? Everything possible to stop that. Well, the result, or the fact is, too, we as a country have been not doing everything we possibly can to stop the death of young men of color in our cities every day. This announcement today is part of changing that. 14 kids a day, 14 young men a day, 5,000 a year. Obviously, that's nothing that anything we're proud of, but in order to make a better future, we have to embrace reality and be clear-eyed about that. That's why this work is so important. In Louisville, we created an action plan for violence reduction in consultation with local and national experts, local/national expert like Anthony Smith, our Chief of Police, Steve Conrad, Sadiqa Reynolds was here earlier, who runs our Urban League, was with the city at the time, Yvette Gentry, who was with LMPD at the time. And this plan is based on 6 pillars. The first is enforcement, because we have to give our police officers the tools, staffing, and support they need to get our most dangerous criminals off the street. And that's just a reality we have to face with. There are some folks that aren't really interested in what we're going to be doing here today, and they need to be separated from society because they believe in violence, and they believe in doing that to other folks. So that's not so much our focus today, but that's what our enforcement pillar is about. But there's 5 other pillars: intervention, prevention, community mobilization, organizational change, and the 6th is reentry. And reentry is what this pillar is, that this partnership with Lexington, Cities United, Kenan Charitable Trust, and community partners will help us address most directly. Through what I think is an extremely generous grant from Kenan, $5 million in total for our cities and then support agencies that are going to all work together on this work. We're going to create a new way forward with reentry for our cities and for this country. This is a pilot program where we'll select a group of 20 young men who had encounters with the justice system and invite them to participate in the Thrive Fellowship. This Thrive Fellowship will include housing, counseling, education, and legal services, while introducing a year-long curriculum, leadership curriculum, to increase civic engagement. The participants will emerge with a new understanding of their own potential as leaders who now have the skills, confidence, problem-solving abilities, and high-profile connections that are essential to the professional success for anyone. And there will be no doubt in their minds that somebody cares, and somebody, and a whole lot of people believe that they can be somebody that can contribute to a positive society. Over the next 3 years, we're going to have 3 classes or cohorts that will be linking the new skills the participants will learn with employment opportunities when they've completed the fellowship. We'll record our documents and learnings, collect the data, share our findings with our partners and with the public, and our hope is that we can not only help our own citizens, but each other and other people in other communities who face similar challenges as this becomes a national best practice. That's the goal. So to get this right, we'll spend the next few months with our national and local partners, planning out the fellowship, making sure that we spend time talking to the young men who will participate in the program to make sure we're addressing the right challenges in the right way for them and their support systems. This effort aligns with the reentry work that we've been doing for years in Louisville through local initiatives like Reimage, where we identify young people who've had a brush with the law and pair them with mentors and resources in order for them to help the right path. One of the big challenges with this work, nationally and locally, is recidivism. But among participants in Reimage, one of our reentry programs, the recidivism rate is less than 2%. So don't let anybody tell you these programs don't work. They do work, but we need focus and attention. So that's one of the reasons why we created our Office for Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods. So I just want to thank everybody, thank Mayor Gray and his team, thanks to Cities United and the Kenan Charitable Trust, as well as our local partners like the Louisville Urban League and the Metro United Way. I know there's going to be skeptics. There's skeptics on every issue. Nobody's in this room because they listened to skeptics over the years. And some people will say that this is impossible. It can't be done. Well, what we do is we get to work. And I want to close with the words of a great Kentuckian, Muhammad Ali, and what he had to say when people said things are impossible. Muhammad said, "Impossible is just a word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the power that they have to change it. Impossible is not a fact. Impossible is just an opinion. Impossible is potential. Impossible is temporary. Impossible is nothing." So we're the home state of the greatest. Let's follow his example and aspire to greatness for ourselves and each and every one of our children. Thank you. Okay, I'm proud to introduce my partner in a lot of this work, Mayor Jim Gray. Mayor Gray is seen as one of the top mayors in the country for the work that he does and the bond that he's developed with his great city of Lexington. Jim Gray.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mayor, if you need to go, that's okay. I was going to say thank you very much for everything you've already illustrated to us. History of exclusion that you just shared with us. The visual of 14 young black men killed every day. And the inspiration of that Muhammad Ali quote just now. I want to thank Anthony. Thank you, sir. One more round of applause for you. As Mayor Fischer said, this is an exciting day for both of our cities, especially, though, for the young men and boys who will know a better future because of the grant funding that we're announcing here today. I want to thank the Lexington Council member, Joe Smith, who is here. Thank you, Joe, for coming over. I know how interested you are in this project. I also want to thank Glenn Brown, my Deputy Chief Administrative Officer, who has been involved in this project from the very beginning. And I want to welcome I'm going to get to Chris Ford here in a minute. I want to welcome our first director of One Lexington, Laura Hatfield. One Lexington is a new office with a challenging assignment, addressing violence prevention and intervention, digging into root causes and reaching out to Lexington's most vulnerable young people. We're calling this office One Lexington because we know it will take all of us, inside and outside of government, the faith community, the social services community, all of us working together. But any project needs a leader, and this office will bring folks together and help us make the best use of our resources to make progress. Now, One Lexington already has partners throughout the community, and some of them, fortunately, are here today, like David Cozart, who was just recently on NBC's Today program, by the way. David is director of the Fayette County Fatherhood Initiative. Malcolm Ratchford with the Community Action Council. Roy Woods with United Way, and a longtime advocate for young people. And I said I was going to get to Chris Ford, and I'm there right now. And Chris Ford, our Commissioner of Social Services, whose programs provide a safety net for so many young people, and who has a heart as big as gold. Thanks to all of you for the incredible work that you do. As all of you know, sometimes all a young person needs is someone to invest, to provide a little help, a little redirection and guidance. An enormous thanks to the William R. Kenan Charitable Trust and to Cities United. Thanks to them, help is on the way. Mayor Fischer and I agree that young men and boys should grow up in a safe, healthy community, the kind of neighborhoods that foster creativity, a sense of hope and pride. Both of our cities are working hard to create strategies and forge relationships to help create better outcomes for young black men and boys. Through the Kenan Trust, Anthony and Cities United will work at the individual level. The mayor did a great job of illustrating and sharing the process. I won't repeat it. But at this individual level is where so much inspiration and encouragement can be provided. In addition to its involvement with the Kenan Trust, Cities United works through the Coach Fellowship Program in Lexington. It's one of the programs we believe can help young black men and boys overcome social root causes that all too often lead to crime, violence, or incarceration, and instead grow up to be citizens who are highly employable. We all know that when we invest in young people, we invest in a brighter future for all of our citizens. Our cities simply can't afford to lose the unlimited potential of our young black men. We need their contribution to our economy, to our community, and to families. And that's why the funding we're announcing here today is so important. Again, I want to thank everyone involved in this effort, and again to you, Anthony, for the incredible work that you do. Thank you, sir, and I think you're back up.
So we did want to spend some time, because I think as you guys have heard, the Kenan Charitable Trust has been a partner for real. They're more than a funder. And this funding and this relationship with them started last year. And we want to bring David up from Lexington and then Darrell from Louisville to talk about how that played into this and how that fits into what we're also announcing today. So David.
Appreciate you. Appreciate the mayors being here. Appreciate the symbol of this collaboration. I'm heard saying there's no such thing as your side of the boat leaking. We're all in the same boat, and if the boat got a leak, we all got a problem. And so it's very good for these mayors to come together in collaboration. I also want to recognize our elected official, George Brown, who is here, resident of Lexington, representative of Lexington. This Coach Fellowship, a portion of that is about social justice and policy reform, and there will be a place for them as we look at those issues, policies, or procedures that might be an impediment to this population and them proceeding in this pipeline of opportunity. So I appreciate you for being here and others that will come. I'm here I dare not say representing Lexington, but I am an advocate of those that are doing the work. I'm looking out at brothers that do the work. And the spirit of this is for these resources to get to those that are boots on the ground, 10 toes down, doing the work. And we're excited about that. And we're excited that Kenan Foundation, in the person often of Dr. Dorian Burton, recognizes the importance of individuals that are working in the space, that are in the highways and hedges, that are doing the work, being freed, loosed, and resourced to do the work. In many cases, it is, in fact, a matter of life and death. And so we appreciate this opportunity. Kenan took confidence in the Lexington community and the region several years ago. We were blessed at the Lexington Leadership Foundation to be an initial beneficiary and are glad to continue in this work, and I'm happy to be liaising in this work for the Coach Fellowship. So again, not representing anybody but myself and a former fellow that would have been said to be at risk, currently a father of a 19-year-old that's in this demographic that one could say is at risk, but I don't call it at risk, we call it at promise. And so we want to uncover this promise and pull out this promise that's in each and every one of our young men that we will be serving. So thank you and appreciate the work.
So thank you, and first I want to echo the sentiments of everybody who's spoken here today, especially Anthony, Mayor Fischer, Mayor Gray, and David, and would like to add a caveat to say that Metro United Way is deeply grateful for the opportunity to work with a cross-functional team from both Lexington and Louisville. We believe this is a unique opportunity to invest in what we believe is both communities' most valuable commodity, and that's people, right? And people who have traditionally been on the wrong end of opportunity gaps that have essentially been a barrier to them reaching their full potential. So really, again, this is a unique opportunity. I think the Kenan Charitable Trust, under the leadership of Dr. Dorian Burton, has demonstrated a move within philanthropy where they are shifting from not just a charitable investment, but also a justice-based investment that I truly believe will be the difference to both young people and families in both communities who are striving to reach their full potential. I'm also very thankful and grateful for the commitment from both cities and the mayors, and more importantly, Anthony Smith's leadership at Cities United, and he has really spearheaded this movement, and we need more people to join in the fight. There's room for everybody here, and again, really thankful and grateful to be here today. Thank you.